let's talk about your candidacy.
Oh,
We talked a little bit about you running,
Yes.
right? And some of the reasons that you have a calling. Previously, you ran against Sid Miller, right? And you weren't able to beat him.
I know.
And it reminds me in some ways like my daughter plays collegiate tennis, and she would maybe not win a tournament and say, hey, Dad, I'm thinking of playing the semi-pros. And I'm like, okay, really, honey?
You didn't win, yeah.
So that's my initial thought.
Yeah.
Why do you think you can be more successful in a congressional race versus, was it ag commissioner?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I think when you run, and you're compelled to run for different reasons,
Yes.
many of us, especially after 2016, many women who had sat on the sidelines in the political spectrum had said, oh, no, not on my watch. We're going to all get in the game. So I joined that wave of women in order to do something and to serve, and where I thought I could best leverage my time, talent, and treasure, and all that I have to bring to bear, especially from the military, my nonprofit, and my school board experience. So in that work, as you looked at the ag race, what's wonderful about the ag race, it gives you a perspective all across the state, and kind of, I went and chased Beto all over the state, did 244 counties to who's 254. But in that work, and bear with me, in that work, here's what I found. Everybody asked me, what were your lessons learned from ag? And it was that we're more alike than we are different. Yes. That we all are concerned about the same things. It's just the path of getting there and getting stuff done, I think, is where we different. And so, one thing I found in my ag race is if I would go, and for the ag part, if I would walk their fields, visit their farms, and sit at their family dinner tables, that they would actually listen and they would tell me things because I'm there to represent them. So in the farming and ranching and transportation sector, which is what ag really was involved in, I would find a like place, even in the cotton gins. Right. Of Glasscock County. I mean, all red.
I don't even know where that is.
Yeah, most people don't, but it's all red. And in my point, why I'm saying this is because of the 190 counties that we consider rural in Texas, I won 107 of them over Beto. Okay. So that meant people that you brought a reasonable solutions, that you'd listen to, that you visit, that would hear you and look you in the eye, said, I could vote for you. On a straight ticket voting year, they actually came over and voted for me. That's the only way I could win those counties. Our district is red at this moment. It is trending blue because of the change of the demographics. But don't kid ourselves, it is still at this moment red. So you're going to have to appeal to people somewhat as a moderate and as a centrist. That is what is going to win this district. Not extreme on the right and certainly not extreme on the left. That's what's wrong with the country right now, is we've polarized ourselves so much, we've left a void, and nobody seems to be able to find the middle anymore.
So that previous campaign was a learning process?
Well, it's a learning process because it teaches you, now I've run for office before, but it teaches you what are on folks' mind. Because remember, representative government is about representing them, not you and your issues. It's reflecting back the values of this particular district. And so when you say, okay, what did you learn in this district? So my work in the ag race was mostly rural, trying to bring rural votes to the table. The party was in charge of the cities. And of course, Tarrant County, Beto took by 3 points. Trump took this district by 6 in 16. So we've moved, obviously, somewhere. Between Sid and I came within 1 point of taking this district. So that tells me if we can put some concentration and effort in this district, I believe that, well, I know we can tip it and make it go blue.
Some of my Democratic friends, they've said, you've moved in from outside the district to run here. Could you demonstrate an issue that you know about our district? Because I'm going to vote in this district to demonstrate that you know something about us.
Yeah, and let me just tackle that right now.
Sure.
Let's get that word out. I've heard, oh, you're just a carpetbagger, and I would offer to you.
Say that.
I know, but I've heard it. So let's just put it out there. First of all military people are carpetbaggers. I moved 18 times in 25 years serving this nation, and so we don't pick where we grow up. We don't pick where we get stationed, especially when we're wearing our uniform. What I think people should measure you as, what do you do when you land somewhere? And so don't be so hard on vets that step in and try to run for office and utilize their leadership skill sets that they grew and the sacrifices that they and their families make to try to do right by this nation. So that's back to that service sector. I would take exception that I moved into the district. I've lived in Tarrant County for 3 years, lived in Dallas for 2 years when I worked at Dallas ISD. So I do know this district, and I was less than 8 miles from the border. So yeah, I moved 8 miles from, Tarrant over to here. And I put myself actually right in the middle of the place we need to take, which is Tarrant County. Northeast Tarrant County, we lost by 20 points. So our office sits here, I live here, because one thing I learned from Iraq is get them in the tent. And so I'm putting ourselves right here in the tent. So the point is, I think I know the district pretty well. My daughter works down here. I have nieces that work over in Amazon. My son works just at the base. And so I'm going to roll right back to your question of what issue in this district should I know about. So here it comes, and I'm going to draw it up from my ag race.
Okay.
Dallas DFW Airport is the largest exporter of goods in our entire nation. She is the #1 airport. We do about $264 billion in exports. So if I close down the border at Laredo from all that produce coming up from Mexico, what do you think that does to our exports?
I guess it's going to go down.
Bingo, right?
Yes.
So you see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
We export more manufactured products out of this, not just food, but manufactured. Drive around our district and it's warehouse after massive warehouse, and we're still building them. So that's a good thing because we export stuff. We're the 4th busiest airport in the world. So what we are is we're a logistics hub for America's economic growth. So when our highways don't get fixed, that hurts us in our economic growth. When we can't get our airplanes up and flying out of airports because, well, let's see, guys don't pay their taxes like Amazon because I want them to pay their fair share, because who's paying the FAA to make sure those airplanes fly safely? You and I are, with our taxes. So things that happen on a national level impact us. We are the logistics hub of this state. We really are. And whether we're moving tomatoes, or whether we're moving guacamole, or we're moving, avocados up I-35 going into Canada, we are basically the district that makes this state the powerhouse, economic powerhouse.
So what are you going to do about it? How are you going to improve or make sure that the goods are flowing through and the borders are open?
Well,
I guess that's where you're going, right?
Yeah, I mean that's where I'm going, is that this isn't just about we're going to have an immigration policy of cruelty and divisiveness. Basically, I want an immigration policy of inclusion and fixing documentation. And I'm just going to pivot to immigration right now. We have 2 issues on our hands. We have 10 million undocumented workers supposedly in our nation right now. We don't have an immigration problem, we have a documentation problem. And that we need to fix, so that we tackle. And we can do that tomorrow if we want to fix immigration. And that resides in Congress. And Congress ought to step up and have courageous conversation around getting that fixed. But you're going to have an administration that's willing to do that. But if you're using immigrants to bash your other opponent over the head, there is no incentive then to negotiate and to be inclusive and to try to compromise, because that's how you get your power. So you're going to have to figure out a way around that. And that means you're going to have to work with folks that'll support bills with you on the other side of the aisle. Okay. That you're going to have to do. So that's number 1. Number 2 is we have, when I was young, a country had a flood. And in 24 hours, we had food and blankets and comm equipment, and we were landing at that place, and we were doling out and saving people's lives, right? That's what America does. She helps the rest of the nations when we have humanitarian crisis. What have we done on our border, Bill? We have created our own humanitarian crisis. And how appalling that the most powerful nation in the world has the UN knocking on our door saying, hey, let us help you with your immigration issue where you've got children in cages. Shame on us. I don't care where you sit on the immigration spectrum. I am a grandmother and I am a mother, and I'm appalled that people would take a 4-month-old or a newborn or have a 2-year-old taking care of an infant in concrete caged places. This is not who we are. And the thing is, you got to say, why are they here? Why would a mother risk all that to come to a nation? Well, first of all, I want to be the nation that people come to. I want to be that shining city on the hill. I want to be the place of opportunity. But you got to look at what's driving those folks out of their very homes. And I would say, with your son sitting here, if at this place, if you worried about him being kidnapped or killed or brought in to be a child soldier, you'd head up to Canada. You would. And so you know, look at it from that perspective. Go back to that nation that's struggling, Salvador, the Central Americans, and let's pour some money into there. Yes. Let's do a Marshall Plan down there and help them rebuild their country. And then you don't have people fleeing it. So some of it we can do. This is our hemisphere. This is our nation. And finally, I would say, people are nuts if they think we're going to have economic growth with a 1% unemployment rate. It sounds good on a soundbite, but you can't grow if you can't have people to hire and do the work that needs to be done. I mean, I live over here in Colleyville and they're re-roofing all the houses. How many of you are going to get out there at 103 degrees and re-roof houses for 8 hours a day? But we have folks that will do it. We pay them well, make sure they have some kind of health care around them in case they fall off there, since they're supporting their families. But we have to have people come into our nation so that they can do the work, so we can grow as a country.